as many of us as possible are going to show up to the United Nations headquarters, and we're not going to leave the building.
I don't want peace. I want problems, always.
If the chairman of the UN doesn't show up, we're not leaving.
Okay.
A few moments later.
I ain't do nothing. I don't know what's going on. All I know is my side of the story. I can't tell no other story. I'm innocent, and Mama, I love you. P.O.P. all the time.
Because when we go to the United Nations and we tell everyone on the floor of the United Nations what happened to us, we're going to get allies. Other nations are going to fund us. Why isn't there a group of Moors organizing us going to the UN?
How can we settle a dispute with the United States of America? That's the first question. But we first have to settle a dispute with ourselves to work together. So, but last but not least, if consular court does not prevail, then we got every right to petition the International Court of Justice, which is Article 36. You have to be competent with your pen. You have to understand what's called a political settlement versus a judicial settlement. So when you're reading the Charter of the United Nations, Article 33 talks about mainly a political settlement, right? So what's the political settlement? That's mediation and then arbitration, right? After that, if you can't settle it peacefully after that, who's up next? Judicial settlement. So it's two parts of law. You have political law, and then you got judicial law. Judicial comes in to finalize it based upon justice. Because in any dispute, that dispute must be settled. You cannot allow it to fester, right? So if two parties are serious, they will allow a third-party judge to come in and settle the dispute if they're serious, right? And this is what Moors have to learn. We have to first learn how to use our pen with politics. And from there, if politics does not prevail, then justice must prevail, right? So according to our treaties, how does judicial prevail? What's called consular court. But if our consular courts do not prevail in dealing with the United States of America and the international organization commonly known as the United States, what do we do next? We have to maintain the peace. We have to now petition the United Nations and their organs. And one of their organs is the ICJ. What's another organ? Well, that's the General Assembly. You got the Security Council, as well as you got human rights committees, etc., right? All there's several organs. And this is what Moors are learning, okay? So class 89 is really to get the Moors to start understanding that the United States understands the step-by-step process in terms of dealing with erga omnes parties, right? The United States understands what it is to write a declaration of intervention, which means the Moors have to learn how to do this as well. The Moors have to understand the political steps to achieving peace and security. The Moors have to now understand the judicial steps to maintain peace and security, all right? Because everything must be settled based upon justice, right? No justice, no peace, right? So that means things need to be settled. You can't have peace because there's been no justice in the United States for who? More subjects.
Today is April 26th, and I shall begin reading this proclamation. Wazir Regional Council, regional Moroccan organization in the Empire of Morocco. Proclamation, friendly relations during decolonization in the Moorish Empire. Whereas the Wazir Regional Council Convention was deposited by all 6 Moorish states on or before April 24th, 2023, in conformity with their constitutional procedures and in accordance with Articles 1B, 33, 55, 73, and 102 of the Charter of the United Nations. Wherefore the convention in the Empire of Morocco Wazir Regional Council entered into full force and effect on April 24th, 2023, and hereby proclaimed on April 26th, 2023. Wherefore the Wazir Regional Council members heretofore recognize the convention as having full force and effect throughout the Empire of Morocco. Moreover, the Wazir Regional Council is open to all other recognized sovereign Moorish states and their heads of state, in conformity with the terms and conditions of the WRC Convention, inter alia, recognizing that the Wazir Regional Council shall be committed to instituting resolutions regarding political, administrative, judicial, economic, social, cultural, and military reforms to help set forth standard operating procedures and strict accountability among the interdependent Moorish governments, in accordance with the customary norms of international law, and in conformity with the various treaties, conventions, and arrangements made or which shall be made with the United States of America and other peace-loving states around planet Earth. Recognizing that collective Moroccan states created the concept of the Wazir Regional Council Convention as a multilateral agreement to assist native Moors with decolonization in each of the non-self-governing territories throughout the Moroccan Empire.
So I think we as a people should go to the United Nations and tell on the United States and press charges against the United States for violating our right to goddamn exist. Imagine all of us go have a conference. All of us have a conference and talk about our intent to sue the United States for all that they've done to us.
Right here is the Charter of the United Nations. AMPAC, Lodi Spray de Monte, Colorado, generally goes over this in their study session classes, and I highly recommend that more study those classes. Watch the videos, go to AMPAC Media on YouTube, and, study. But I'm going to briefly go over a few clauses in this charter that Moors need to pay attention to, especially those Moors that are being encouraged to run to the United Nations on January 8th. In Chapter 2, Competence of the Court, Article 34, it says in subsection 1, only states may be parties in cases before the court. What does that mean? That means you can't just run up there and demand to speak to somebody and file a case against the United States without having a state government. You need your own Moorish state in order to bring cases before the court of the United Nations. What court? The International Court of Justice, right? There's also the International Criminal Court, the ICC. But you need to have a state government to bring a case, to bring a suit, right, against the United States at the United Nations. Don't follow these incompetent people who are telling you that you can just go there and not fucking leave and file a case and you're going to get recognized by other nations and this, that, and the third. You're going to make a fool of yourself. You're going to get arrested probably. You're definitely going to get kicked out. Why? Just to qualify this is the United Nations and the United States of America agreement regarding the headquarters of the United Nations. This was from 1947, long before you and I came on the scene. So don't think you can just make up your own fucking rules now. I believe this was Article 3, Section 10, I believe. Yeah, Article 3, Law and Authority in the Headquarters District. Section 10 says the United Nations may expel or exclude persons from the headquarters district for violation of its regulations adopted under Section 8 or for other causes, right? So you go up there violating their regulations. You don't even know what their regulations are, right? You go up there causing a scene, they can expel you and exclude you from the premises, right? Up here it also says, and this is probably related to why the individual is so pressing about the issue of Moors going to the United Nations, because of a case that's coming up or something that relates to the United States treatment of him.
They're threatening me with 88 years, not you.
Bottom line is the United Nations shall prevent the headquarters district from becoming a refuge either for persons who are avoiding arrest under the federal, state, or local laws of the United States, or for persons who are endeavoring to avoid service of legal process. You cannot go to the United Nations just because they're inviolable, right? Or the district is. You can't go there and say you're not going to leave, right? It's not going to be a refuge for you. You can't be there and avoid legal process. You have to go to your trial. You have to face, a jury of your peers, right? You have to handle your issues. You can't just run away from it by going to the United Nations. And you can't hide behind the Moors that you want to go there with you. You're not going to get remedy that way because only states can bring cases before the court, the ICJ of the United Nations. So by you going there without a state government, you're only going to cause a scene, make a public spectacle of yourself, make a fool of yourself in front of the whole world. You're going to become a laughingstock again. So instead of doing that, I'd recommend you return to the ISC, which is not a state, by the way. It's not a state. Hell, it barely even qualifies as a government. Not even that. It was set up, it's a body politic for sure, that was set up in an effort to establish a government. It didn't reach that goal. It was nowhere close to that goal. Doesn't even qualify as an organized jural society. So return to the ISC so we could pursue that goal of setting up a government by having that constitutional convention. Stop slandering the more states that have already been established. They're already organizing. They've already organized their intergovernmental organization called the Wazir Regional Council, otherwise known as WRC. And while your old friend is slandering them, you need to stop. Return, because eventually you're going to have to be working with them on some level, whether it's government to government or whatever. So cut the nonsense out, return, so business can be conducted, and we'll take it from there. It's just that simple. Now, of course, there's other claims being made that the United States violated the treaty rights of Moorish Americans. I hate to break it to you, but Moorish Americans aren't parties to this treaty of peace and friendship, right? They're not listed parties in here. The treaty is between Moroccans, right? The Moroccan Empire and the United States of America. So it's between Moroccans and Americans. Now, you can claim that you're on the side of America, but then you have to also submit and acknowledge that you have allegiance to the United States of America. You can't have it both ways, where you're claiming to be part of the Moroccan Empire, but you're also claiming to be Moorish Americans, which by default, as Noble Drew Ali made it clear, has allegiance to the United States of America. You're supposed to be better American citizens, not better Moroccan citizens or nationals, better American citizens. So pick a side. You can't be out there on the street holding up a Moroccan kingdom flag saying our two countries have a peace and friendship treaty. It's not how that works. Right? You are an American because you are claiming to be Moorish American. You're not Moroccan. You are a descendant of Moroccan. But your allegiance, your political allegiance lies with the United States of America. And because the United States of America currently does not have a centralized government, that's de jure, the de facto United States federal corporation that is administering the government of the United States of America, you still owe them allegiance too. Even though they're de facto, they're the ones running it. So pick a side. Now, of course, on the Moroccan Empire side, there are more states that have been established and an intergovernmental organization that was established that will ultimately be the central governmental body of the empire. I'm sure you've heard of all the various claims that are being made, but take whatever with a grain of salt. Do your studies, study AMPAC study sessions, AMPAC study sessions, so on and so forth. Right? Use your own discernment. Study history, study law, study the Prophet's literature. Cross-reference everything. Because I can guarantee you there are two paths that are clearly marked here. One is the Moroccan Empire path that the Moorish states are on. The other path is the United States of America that Prophet Noble Drew Ali tried to get the Moors to go down, but the Moors keep going every which way. They keep branching off into their own road of destruction. Starting with the rogue temples in the 1920s and 30s. Started with that, then eventually evolved into the so-called civic Moors that led to the package sellers. And here we are. Moors are trying to figure it all out. Just pick a side. It's just that simple. And then there's this comment about sundry free Moors. Yeah, you can claim to be a sundry free Moor, but you are not a subject of the Emperor of Morocco. You can claim to be a sundry free Moor, but you're still subjugated by the United States. You're still a subject of the United States, not a subject of the Empire of Morocco. Now, the sundry free Moors from South Carolina that were granted the right to be treated as any other American citizens and not under the Negro Act, they themselves are not immune to the laws of the United States. If they violate a law, they will be treated just like any other citizen of the United States. Likewise, if Moorish Americans break the law, they'll be treated just like any other citizens of the United States. You're not immune. Yeah, you have inalienable rights. Yeah, the government's violating those rights. Take those matters up in court. That's the battlefield. It would be better if you had a state government. That would be much better. But Noble Drew Ali set up what was necessary for Moors within the United States system. Follow that path if you want to be part of the United States. If you don't, then either you come back to Morocco by way of a Moorish state and follow the path that the Moorish states have been following, or you simply remain stateless and get slapped upside your head every time. There's really no other choice. Anyway, following this, I came across this document, which was prepared by the Moors of the Murakush Caliphate, which is related to Murakush society. And this was, I presume, because I couldn't find the record of it on congress.gov, so I presume that it was a proposal that they were going to make with the United States of America's Congress in 2012, because that's the title of it, right? But I can't find any record of it on congress.gov, so I can only assume it doesn't exist there, or it wasn't filed properly, or it wasn't accepted, or whatever. So, but this, to make matters short, was a good attempt at having Moors' rights be recognized on the law books of the United States of America. This was a great attempt, actually, right? At having Moors' rights be recognized. And this is what Moorish Americans should be doing. This is what Noble Drew Ali was attempting to do when he was telling Moors to support their brother in government. Right? And any Moorish American that's seeing Moors who are setting up Moor states and identifying themselves as Moroccans, leave them be. That's separate. That has nothing to do with Moorish Americans and their pathway to earthly salvation within the United States of America system. That's separate. There's no need for us to be fighting over this. But this is a good attempt, And this is what Moorish Americans should be focused on. Getting remedy within the system. You shouldn't be on YouTube slandering people. You shouldn't be on Instagram slandering people. You should be in your temples, in your organizations. You should be in the government, in the courtrooms, preparing remedies for the Moors. Last but not least, Moors appear to not get the message, because the courts keep telling us that our arguments are frivolous. The whole "I'm immune to the law" argument is frivolous. Stop it. A pro se litigant's complaint is to be construed liberally. Nonetheless, such complaints still must plead facts sufficient to show a redressable legal wrong has been committed. This particular Moor named Love L is claiming that he's a subject of Morocco's king, and as a result of him being a subject of Morocco's king, he is immune to prosecution, which is stupid. You've already addressed that. You're not immune. Love L also makes various claims that he is immune from prosecution by virtue of the Moors Sundry Act, the Treaty of Morocco of 1787, and various United Nations resolutions. No such things exist granting immunity from prosecution for Moors. That's what our Moorish civic teachers have been telling us, the so-called Moorvengers. They've been teaching us that the United States doesn't have jurisdiction. But if you identify as a Moorish American, they absolutely have jurisdiction. If you don't have a Moorish state that's providing you with protections, they absolutely have jurisdiction. Read the treaties. The Moors Sundry Act was an act passed by the South Carolina state legislature, granting the subjects of the Sultan of Morocco residing in South Carolina the same rights as their white counterparts, even to the extent of being jurors. The Moors Sundry Act is used as another justification for Moors to claim sovereignty and immunity from the laws of the land. But even this document simply grants the Moors rights equal to other white citizens of South Carolina. Moreover, as an act by the South Carolina legislature, it has no effect on Love L's criminal prosecution in Michigan. How many times do Moors have to go through these processes, making the same frivolous arguments, getting slapped upside their heads every time, before they realize they need to do something different? How many times? Because this was way back in the day. This was 2005. October 28, 2005. Almost to the day. Why are Moors still making the same arguments? This is foolish. But anyway, go to YouTube, go to AMPAC Study Sessions or AMPAC Media, or even go to ampacgov.org. Find their links to those study sessions. Put in your 100 hours. Correct the narrative. A lot of us have been misled. Even those who claim to be or portray themselves to be, or other Moors believe are adepts in the knowledge, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about, because they've been misleading people too. So instead of making a fool of yourself again, why not take some time, sit down and study? It's not difficult. You just have to get past your own ego, your own pride. Whoever chooses to go to the UN on January 8th with this brother, I wish you the best of luck. and make sure you have your affairs in order, because you're likely going to get arrested or made a fool of. So, good luck to you.
Vice News did an interview with my family, made their interview public, and in that little documentary series / interview, they themselves, a third party themselves, who Alzo's an Asiatic man, by the way, so-called black man, stated that there's over 1 million applications from Moorish Americans requesting the United States to recognize us as a government.
Wait a minute.
Vice News said there's over 1,000 applications of Moors requesting the United States to recognize us as a separate nation of people.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying? Oh my God, stop fucking lying.